This is the continuation of the hearing in docket number 26-011. And before we begin, just a couple of housekeeping matters. I know there were some filings submitted yesterday by both parties, and I have not had a chance to review those, so I'll take those on the papers. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, counsel. Actually, counsel, would you just identify yourselves for the record this morning?
Sure. Good morning, Hearing Officer Hanstead. I'm Jesse Langer of Updike, Kelly and Spellacy on behalf of the applicant, American Ambulance Service, Inc.
Thank you.
Good morning, Hearing Officer Henstead. My name is Beck Feynman. I'm with Pullman and Conley, and I'm pinch hitting for Attorney Kurz today. So I'm representing the intervener, American Medical Response, and with me are my colleagues, Attorney O'Connor and Attorney Kutzner.
Okay, thank you, counsel. Okay, so I believe, and counsel, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe where we left off was it was, well, on that day, our last hearing, it was Attorney Kurz's turn to present his case in chief, or his rebuttal case, whatever it may be. Am I wrong on that? Attorney Langer, did you have more to present, or were you completed at the last hearing?
We had finished our affirmative case, Hearing Officer Hanstead. We had submitted our late filings, and I know there was an objection to the late filing, but I think we are done with our affirmative case.
Okay. Okay, so Attorney Kleinman, I'll turn it over to you to present AMR's case.
Yes, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
We are going to call William Scheidler.
Okay, and I just need to swear him in one moment. Okay. Sir, would you please raise your right hand? I need to swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. And would you please state and spell your first and last name for the record?
Sure. First name is William, William. Last name is Scheidinger, Scheitinger.
Thank you. You are duly sworn. Counsel, you may proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Scheidinger.
Good morning.
Are you currently employed?
I am.
And by whom?
American Medical Response.
What is your position with AMR?
My position is title of Regional Director.
How long have you held that position?
I've held that position as Regional Director, I believe, since 2014.
And when you say Regional Director, what region are we talking about?
Region of Connecticut, so I cover what's known as Connecticut West, which is our Bridgeport business unit and our Waterbury business unit.
Does your area of responsibility include St. Vincent's Medical Center?
Yes, it does.
Before you were in your current position, can you walk us through the positions that you've held in the EMS field?
Sure. I started as an EMT with a predecessor company that AMR now owns called Ace Ambulance. I started as an EMT there in 1988. While working there, became a licensed paramedic in 1991, I believe it was. And then subsequently at Ace, I became their director of operations in the mid 90s. And then at late 90s, I think it was 96, 97, somewhere around there, AMR took over Ace Ambulance. And I was a road paramedic with AMR. And then in 2005, I became a field paramedic supervisor for AMR in the Bridgeport market. And then in 2006, I was promoted to operations manager, overseeing the Bridgeport unit. And then 2007, promoted to general manager, overseeing the Bridgeport market. And then I think it was 2014, promoted to regional director, overseeing multiple business units.
So since 2006, has St. Vincent's Medical Center been within your realm of responsibility?
Yes, it has.
In your current role with AMR, do your duties and responsibilities include ensuring that your region is adequately and properly staffed to provide services that AMR is responsible for providing?
Yes, it is.
And just to be clear, what services does AMR provide in your region?
So in the Bridgeport Business Unit, we provide 911 services, ground ambulance services to the city of Bridgeport and the town of Fairfield. We provide emergency mutual aid services to the surrounding towns. And then we provide non-emergency basic life support and advanced life support and facility work with skilled nursing facilities and hospitals.
In your current role, do your duties and responsibilities include ensuring that AMR is running the correct number and type of ambulances?
Yes, it is.
And do your duties and responsibilities include ensuring that AMR's resources are properly allocated to meet the service needs?
Yes, they do.
Do you currently serve on any boards or committees relating to emergency medical service?
I currently serve on the Connecticut EMS Advisory Board.
And what is your role on the advisory board?
Currently, I serve as the chair of the Connecticut EMS Advisory Board.
For how long have you been the chair?
I believe 3 years.
Did you serve on the board in a different capacity before you became the chair?
I served prior to that as the vice chair for a few years, and then I've been a board member for 10 plus years.
What is the purpose or the objective of the committee?
The committee is statutorily created, and the mission through the statute is to provide recommendations for the EMS system in Connecticut to legislators, to the Commissioner of Department of Public Health, and the governor.
Does the work of the committee address issues relating to EMS staffing in the state?
Yes, sometimes we talk about staffing.
And have you yourself been involved in the committee's analysis of EMS staffing needs and the ability to meet those needs in the state?
Yes.
I want to turn to American's application to open a branch location at Bridgeport, which brings us here today. Griffin, if you could provide that to Mr. Sheehan. Just in general, yeah. So looking at the application that brings us here today, have you reviewed this application, the version that was submitted first in March of 2026?
Yes, I have.
And have you reviewed the supplemental portions submitted last month?
Yes,
Were you present for the first day of testimony in this hearing?
I was.
And did you hear the entire testimonies of Dr. Jandro, Mr. Turchak, and Mr. Bullier?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the geographic location of American's proposed Bridgeport branch?
I am.
Does AMR have a headquarters located in Bridgeport?
Yes, we do.
And where is that located?
It's located at 335 Connecticut Ave in Bridgeport.
How far from St. Vincent's is the AMR Bridgeport headquarters?
Not far at all. I think probably by the way the bird flies, 2 miles.
And how many ambulances do you have housed there?
We have 29 ambulances housed out of that base.
How many employees are headquartered out of the AMR Bridgeport?
We have, I believe, approximately 220 employees based out of there.
How many of those employees are paramedics?
Paramedics, we have, I believe we're at 40 paramedics.
And what about EMTs?
EMTs make up the rest of that.
Are there any other employees headquartered in Bridgeport other than paramedics and EMTs who are certified to serve as ambulance crew?
Yes, we do. We have administrative staff based at the location, field paramedic supervisors. I have an ops manager who's a paramedic, and then I have administrative supervisors who work inside overseeing the operation. Then I have a scheduler also who's a certified EMT.
And are there occasions when the administrative folks do actually serve as ambulance crew for AMR?
Yes.
Under what circumstances would they do that?
Typically, they're staffed mostly during the day is when we're have the most staff on site administratively. And typically when call volume surges, either 911 volume is higher or interfacility work is higher than what's normally expected, we'll put what we call admin units on the road. So we'll have the admin supervisors, our scheduler, our ops manager, field supervisor, staff trucks to go on the road to help with the volume.
I'd like to turn your attention to the corrected attachment E4. This is the one filed in June. And then you have that in front of you.
Okay.
Okay, so just looking at the very first sentence there, do you see where it says that St. Vincent's has selected American Ambulance to serve as the primary provider of EMS scheduled interfacility transfers?
Yes.
Are you aware of any contract between St. Vincent's and American for those IFTs?
No.
Are you aware that Hartford Healthcare put out an RFP for EMS transport services for St. Vincent's Medical Center?
Yes.
Did AMR submit a response to that RFP?
Yes, we do.
And do you know when they submitted that response?
I believe it's spring of 25.
To your knowledge, has Hartford Healthcare either accepted or declined the proposal that was made by AMR?
To my knowledge, there was no formal notification that they accepted the proposal. They said they were interested in working with AMR on part of the proposal that we submitted called the concierge model. And we've been in negotiations of an agreement since then.
So is it fair to say that as things stand right now, AMR is now currently operating under a contract with St. Vincent's?
Correct.
If we go down to the second paragraph in attachment E4, the corrected one, American is saying that they will, that this additional branch that they're proposing would support over 400 patient transfers per year between St. Vincent's Behavioral Health, St. Vincent's, I think, in Bridgeport, and the St. Vincent's Behavioral Health in Westport. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, and then they're going to provide nearly 5,000 IFTs from the emergency department and inpatient units to receiving facilities. See that?
Yes.
Does AMR currently provide any of those services to St. Vincent's?
Yes, we do.
Since when?
We've been providing services for St. V's over 40 years.
And you heard the testimony during the first day that from 2019 until June of 2025, AMR was under contract with St. Vincent's to provide these IFTs that are the subject of attachment E4.
Yes.
And in fact, we heard about 2 different contracts. Is that right?
Correct.
Are you familiar with both of those contracts?
Yes, I
The first contract, do you know when it went into effect?
believe that was the first one was 2019.
And when did it end?
That one ended, I believe, 2021 when we initiated a new contract.
Under the 2019 contract, was there an established fixed rate for interfacility transfers out of St. Vincent's?
Yes, there was.
Do you know what the rate was?
For the trips going from St. Vincent's to the behavioral health unit, that the facility was responsible for, it was a fixed rate of 11 miles at Medicare pricing. I believe at that time, and I'm stretching my mind here, but I think it was a fixed rate of $311.
Have you seen references in American's application to certain performance measures for AMR response times?
Yes,
And were those performance measures established in the 2019 contract?
yes, they were.
Did the 2019 contract establish a target of 90% compliance with response time metrics?
Yes, it did.
Did those metrics vary according to the type of request?
They did.
And can you explain the difference between the different response time metrics in the 2019 contract?
Sure. For example, non-emergency trips off of floor that were pre-scheduled the day before, there was a response time metric of being on scene within 15 minutes of their request time. So if the patient was requested to be discharged at 9 o'clock, we could arrive 15 minutes early or no more than 15 minutes late, or we'd be considered late past the time of request. For patients that were typically out of the hospital that were going in a facility that were more urgent type, we had typically a 30-minute response time from the time of request. And then we delineated patients that had more than 4 hours request notice or less than 4 hours request notice. And those response times vary based on when we received the call.
Did AMR provide St. Vincent's with reports on its compliance with those response time goals?
Yes, we did.
How frequently?
I believe monthly.
The next contract between AMR and St. Vincent's went into effect when?
I believe in 21.
Did the 2021 contract include the same response time metrics that appeared in the 2019 contract?
No, not in the contract.
And nevertheless, did AMR continue to report its response time performance to St. Vincent's?
We did.
Was that still provided to them monthly?
Yes.
What was the original expiration date of the 21 contract?
I believe it was December of 24.
And was that extended?
Yes.
Through when?
I believe end of June of 25.
Has it been extended beyond June of 2025?
No, it is not.
Okay, can we look at attachment 3A of American's application?
Okay, I have it here.
Looking at attachment 3A, are these do these reports reflect the data that was provided from AMR to St. Vincent's?
Yes, they do.
As we start to get into these numbers, I want to clarify what the data does and does not show. For the transports that were reported here, what constituted a late transport?
A late transport was defined as anything past the required response time for that type of call.
And when you say required, are we still talking about the 2019 metrics that you had described earlier?
Yes.
Okay. So, for example, taking your example from earlier, if a request was made for a transport with more than 4 hours notice, AMR crews had a 15-minute allowable time variance or grace period before they'd be considered delayed.
Yes.
If they arrived 16 minutes after the scheduled time, would that be a delay?
Yes.
And if they arrived 1 hour after the scheduled time, would that be a delay?
Yes, it would.
When AMR was tracking its on-time performance, did AMR distinguish at all between a 1-minute delay and a 1 hour delay?
No, we did not.
So then, looking at the charts here that we have in attachment 3A, and let's use January 2024 as an example. I want to look at the types of transports that American wants to use a Bridgeport branch to provide. So looking at January 2024, which types of transports would those be?
That American ambulance would be doing?
Yes, that American would be.
Well, my assumption is based on their application, all of them.
And of the of the
I'm just
roughly.
going to object. I'm sorry. I'm just going to object to the extent that it calls for speculation. You said assumption.
Counsel?
I'll ask it a different way.
Okay, thank you.
Based on the numbers that we were looking at in the application a few moments ago, the 400 transports between St. Vincent's and the behavioral health campus in Westport, and the 5,000 interfacility transfers from the non-ED floors. Do you have an understanding, looking at attachment 3A, which types of transports reflected in this chart would be the subject of the application today?
Based on the application, I believe all.
For the BHU calls, and just so we're all on the same page, what are the BHU calls?
So the BHU calls are transports between their behavioral health unit within the hospital, which is based in the emergency department, to their behavioral health campus down in Westport, which was originally known as Holbrook Hospital.
Okay, so looking at January 2024, just as an example, the BHU calls. Can you tell from looking at the data that's provided here, what time of day those calls came in?
No, I can't tell.
Can you tell what day of the week those calls came in?
No,
Can you tell how far in advance of the requested pickup the call was made?
no, can't.
Can you tell from the information contained in attachment 3A, how long each delay was?
No, can't tell.
So looking at again, just sticking with the BHU calls for January of 2024, for those 15 that were reported late, can you tell whether those were 1 minute late or 1 hour late or something different?
No, I can't tell.
Looking at the non-ED entries for January of 2024, do you see those?
Yes.
What does immediate mean here?
Immediate, usually something that is requested probably less than 4 hours notice, I believe, and it's something that they would like to get out immediately, sooner rather than later.
So for the 10 calls that were, or the 10 transports that were reported late out of the 83 immediate non-ED transfer calls for January 2024, can you tell us how long each of those 10 delays was?
No, I can't tell.
What about the non-emergent, non-ED calls? What types of transfers are being requested there?
Those are usually either interfacility or trips that are being discharged off a floor from the hospital that are non-emergent. They don't require advanced level of care. They don't require an immediate response.
So for the two late responses that were reported for January of 2024 for the non-emergent transfers, can you tell how long each of those delays?
No, I can't.
And same questions for the pre-scheduled. What type of transfer are we talking about there?
Pre-scheduled, those are typically discharges off floors directly to either private homes or skilled nursing facilities. And they're usually booked. We request that they get booked the day before.
And so for the transports that were reported late for the pre-scheduled, again, can you tell how long each of those delays were?
No, I can't.
And for any of the delays that are reflected in attachment 3A, for any of the months that are provided here, can you tell by this information the cause for the delays that are reported?
No, I can't.
Can you tell from the information that's provided in 3A whether any of these delays were due to AMR not having an ambulance available for the transport?
No, I can't.
So can you tell whether or how many delays reflected in attachment 3A could have been avoided if there were more ambulances available for interfacility transfers when any of these delays occurred?
No, I can't tell.
As far as you're aware, Mr. Sheetinger, is there any data available that would show how many of the delayed departures for St. Vincent's interfacility transfers resulted in a delayed admission of a patient who was waiting for a bed at St. Vincent's?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Are you aware of any data that shows how much of St. Vincent's ED boarding is caused by a 1 hour delay versus a 2 hour delay, for instance?
No, not that I'm aware of.
And what about for throughput rates? Are you aware of any data that shows how much of the throughput withdrawn for the throughput rates for St. Vincent's? Are you aware of any data that's provided that would show the impact of a, let's say, 1 hour delay on the throughput rate?
No, not aware of that.
And for any duration of delay, are you aware of data that would show what the impact is of that delay on St. Vincent's throughput rates?
No.
Okay, I want to go back to attachment 3.
Okay, I have it in front of me.
Okay. And I want to talk about the costs to St. Vincent's that are discussed under the costs paragraph. You've had a chance to review that?
Yes.
And before I do that, when we're talking about delays in the transports and the IFTs, I had asked you about whether we know how many of those delays were attributable to lack of availability of ambulances, right?
Yes.
Are there other reasons why a transport might be delayed?
Yes.
And what are the other potential causes of a transport delay?
Other than lack of ambulance availability, you have a multitude of reasons that I've experienced over the years. And a crew can be arrive on time for a discharge out of a hospital, and you have a number of reasons why they might be delayed discharging that patient out of the hospital. Frequently, I know at St. Vincent's, elevator delays are a big problem. They have been, they continue to be. There are 2 elevators that are assigned for patient movement in the hospital. They also move food around the hospital. They're for internal patient transport within the hospital. And there's frequent breakdowns of the elevators. We've had staff, our own staff, as well as hospital staff, get stuck in those elevators for periods of time. We've also had delays on the floors of when the crew arrives. They're supposed to arrive and either meet with the unit secretary or the charge nurse for the discharge. There's frequent times where staff isn't available to meet with the crew. They're taking care of patients. They're getting medications for patients, whatever the reason is. Then there's other times where paperwork's not ready. Certain paperwork is required for discharges. Patients that are being admitted into skilled nursing facilities require specific paperwork. If it's a CMS patient, meaning they have Medicare's insurance coverage, they require specific paperwork in order to prove medical necessity at the time of transport. Sometimes that paperwork isn't with the patient, and the crews are trained to assure that we have that paperwork. So sometimes there's delays finding that paperwork and getting that paperwork ready. There's times where discharge summaries aren't ready for the patient discharge. Either they couldn't find it or it wasn't done. So there's times where our crews will sit and wait for that patient to be ready, either paperwork to be found, chargers to be found. And we typically have a rule that if we're going to be on scene waiting more than half an hour, the crew's supposed to call comms and be reassigned. But there are a host of reasons why there are delays in the hospital.
If an AMR crew encounters a delay in the hospital, let's say they get stuck in the elevator, is the time it takes for them to accomplish the transfer any less?
It adds time on our task. My normal time on task in my Bridgeport business unit is about 60 minutes. Looking at the hospital, we're typically well over an hour for our time on task of calls, and that's a multitude of reasons. Delays within the hospital, transport times because there are higher acuity transports being discharged, but it definitely adds on to the task time.
Okay, so turning to the costs in attachment 3. Are you aware that in its application, American says that it will reduce the costs of the Bridgeport to Westport transports by 66%?
Yes,
And that's compared to what AMR is currently charging St. Vincent's for that particular transfer, right?
correct.
I was looking at the math in this paragraph. The last sentence there talks about these numbers. $953,451, which American attributes to the AMR cost per transport or cost for transport ports from Bridgeport to Westport, right?
Yes.
Okay. And if I do the math, $953,451 at roughly $1,600 per transport comes out to 596 transports. Am I doing the math right?
Yes, I believe so.
And then if I do that same math for the $321,840 that American says that it's going to spend on interfacility transports at the $540 charge that American has, again, I'm looking at 596 transports, right?
Yes.
So when we were talking earlier about the specific type of transport that American is applying for here, and we had looked at the roughly 5,400 that it put in the application, that's actually an underestimate, right?
Yes.
This roughly $1,600 per transport cost that American cites in its application, that is the off-contract rate that AMR charges. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And you had told us earlier what the on-contract rate was for that trip under the 2021 through 2025 contract. And how much was that?
That was straight Medicare pricing.
I just want to, I'm sorry, I guess I'm going to object just to ensure that we're consistent with the stipulations that were made where we stipulated to what the on-contract rate was. And so I'm not necessarily disputing what's being said. I just want to make sure that we're not giving a number that's different from what was included in the STIPs.
Sure. I don't think he's testified anything inconsistent with the stipulation. With the stipulation states that the on-contract IFT from St. Vincent's Bridgeport to Westport campus was $393.53 under AMR's last contract with St. Vincent's.
That is correct. I just wanted, yeah, as long as that's consistent, then yes, we are. Thank you.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you, Counsel.
Now, before that contract expired, where AMR was charging $393.53 per trip, AMR had submitted the RFP response that we talked about before, right?
Correct.
In the RFP response, did AMR propose an on-contract rate to St. Vincent's?
We did.
So
And what was?
I'm going to object. We had filed an objection regarding the RFP response yesterday, and I know Hearing Officer Hand said you haven't ruled on it, but because he's asking questions about the RFP response, I have to interpose, my objection.
So
So
Counsel, I'll hear from you.
yeah, let
Okay,
me.
so
Oh, I'm sorry. Which counsel?
You. Attorney Kleinman.
Thank you. We had proposed submitting the RFP as an additional exhibit, and I think that prompted the objection. We're not claiming that as an exhibit itself. My intention is to ask Mr. Sheetinger about the proposed rate that was included in the RFP, which has not yet been acted on.
So a couple of points. One, if the RFP response itself and the contents of that RFP response are not going to be made part of the record, either as a document or through testimony, then I'm okay with that. You know, you had, Hearing Officer Hens said you had objected, you had sustained an objection regarding the rates that were raised in the RFP, which is proprietary, because there is no existing contract. And so I would maintain that objection, you know, in this instance.
Attorney Kleinman, do you have a response?
Sure. I don't see what's proprietary about it. This is a rate that AMR, it's information from AMR. And there's nothing proprietary about information from AMR, certainly not proprietary to American. So I don't even think they have standing to make that type of objection here. And it's certainly relevant. It's made relevant by American because they explain that one of the efficiencies that this application is going to offer is a 66% reduction in costs from AMR's rates down to what they are charging at the 540. That's a fiction. There has been historically an on-contract rate with AMR. AMR has proposed a new on-contract rate. And I think if American is going to make this argument that there's a significant cost savings, then we should know what the real cost would be.
Okay, so here's the way. Go ahead, Counsel.
I'm sorry, Hearing Officer Hanson. I'd like to respond. You know, one, the RFP itself, it has a confidentiality proprietary clause in it. Even the Freedom of Information Act involving RFPs to state agencies has an exemption for RFPs because of the information that is provided, including information that would relate to, in this case, you know, St. Vincent's or Harvard Healthcare. And so that's why even in both the public and the private sector, you're going to have RFPs that are considered proprietary because they talk about business plans and that sort of thing. And so that's why the RFP itself and the response is proprietary.
Okay, so
and we also have the on-contract rate stipulated leading up, you know, to 2025. So that's on the record as well.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so as counsel knows, the RFP has not yet been made an exhibit. I don't know if it will be made an exhibit. To the extent it is made an exhibit, the RFP speaks for itself. So I'm not going to allow testimony as to what the RFP states at this point. If I decide to make it an exhibit, then we might have to revisit the issue on another day, but we'll get to that point when we get to it. So for today's purposes, you know, as far as any proposed contract rates in the RFP response, the document is going to speak for itself, so I don't need to hear testimony on that.
So then, Hearing Officer Henson, I will offer the RFP. I wasn't planning to do that because I wanted to confine the evidence to just what the rate issue is, which American put at issue. But if we're going to rely on the document itself, I'm going to offer it. We can offer it under seal if that would give Americans some comfort. But again, this is information provided by American by AMR to American. If it's proprietary to anybody, it's to AMR, and AMR is the one offering it. So I don't see what the issue is.
Hearing Officer Hanstead, could I perhaps confer with my client as to the specific request of Attorney Feynman? If it's going to be limited to that, let me speak to my client. Maybe we can resolve this.
Okay, yeah, so let's go off the record for 10 minutes,
Uh,
good?
yeah, 10 minutes is good. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go off the record for 10 minutes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Are we?
Okay, let's go back on the record, please. Okay, counsel, have you discussed it with your client?
Yes, thank you, Hearing Officer Hanstead. So we're amenable to AMR testifying as to the rate that was proposed in the RFP, with the understanding that the RFP, the RFP itself and the other contents will not become part of the record and will not be testified to.
That's our
Okay.
intention.
That's your intention? Okay. All right. So we'll proceed in that manner.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so Mr. Sheetinger, let me get back to my question. In the RFP response, did AMR propose an on-contract rate to St. Vincent's for the Bridgeport to Westport transfers?
Yes, we did.
And what was the proposed rate in the RFP?
So the proposed rate for on-contract facility responsible trips was we kind of delineated it in two ways. One is if we were to be the first call service, then we would offer up Medicare plus 10%. So Medicare base rate, non-emergency, and then Medicare mileage plus 10%. If we were going to share the volume with another provider and we weren't going to be the first call for every trip out of there, then it was going to be Medicare plus 25%.
And when we're talking about Medicare plus 10%, do you know the dollar amount that would work out to?
I believe the Medicare plus 10% for those trips to Westport, 11 miles, we utilize that distance for those trips. I think it was $443 was the total charge for a one-way trip.
And what if the rate turns out to be Medicare plus 25%? Have you done the math to determine what the actual amount would be?
Yeah, I believe that one, Medicare at 25%, I believe was about $510.
As far as AMR is concerned, can Hartford Healthcare and St. Vincent's still accept the proposal that's in the RFP response?
Yes, that proposal stands as is.
I'd like to look now at American's late filing number 2 that came in on June 26th. While Mr. Kutzer's pulling that up, let me go back to the cost for a moment. The off-contract rate that's in the stipulation for the Bridgeport to Westport transfer, roughly $1,600. Is there a reason why AMR charges St. Vincent's that specific amount?
So that amount is our Connecticut maximum allowable rate. GMR, our parent company, the policy is that if we do not have a signed agreement with an organization, a healthcare facility, then we're to charge our maximum allowable rate or usual customary rate, UCR.
And do you know why the rate is what it is?
It's set by the state. That's our maximum allowable, and it's just our compliance department and our legal department feel that following CMS guidelines, remain compliant that we charge an organization our full rate if we're not under a signed business associate agreement or a contract.
Can you explain a little bit more about the connection between the rate and the compliance issues?
Yeah, so our agreements, I mean, they're developed by the attorneys. They have all the compliance language in there, and AMR, we want to stay away from, ensuring that we're doing everything compliant, that we're not, delineating away from any compliance regulations out there, pay-to-play regulations that are out there. So without having those legal protections through an agreement, we charge the full UCR rate.
Were you able to look at late filing number 2? Okay. So late filing number 2, in this filing, American says that the 3 ambulances that are proposed to staff the or to service the branch location would be $597,330 in total. You see that?
Yes.
And then it says that they were purchased through an allocation from Hartford Healthcare Corporation. Do you know what that means, the allocation from Hartford Healthcare Corporation?
No, I don't.
Has Hartford Healthcare provided AMR with any allocation towards its ambulance fleet?
No, they have not.
Okay. Sorry to be jumping around. Let's go back to the application. And I want to look at attachment 2. So in the 1, 2, 3, in the 4th paragraph down, American is talking about how it's going to staff this Bridgeport branch. And it says it's going to do that with 4 paramedics and 13 EMTs. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Now this was for the roughly 5,400 trips that had been referenced earlier in the application. And we determined a few minutes ago that we're really talking about roughly 5,596 transports. So you recall that?
Yes.
And they're proposing to handle these 5,596 transports with the 3 ambulances that we just looked at in late filing number 2. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
In your opinion, given the decades of experience that you have ensuring proper allocation of resources, including for providing interfacility transport specifically for St. Vincent's, is it possible for 3 ambulances to handle 5,596 transports per year?
With the business out of St. Vincent's, no.
How many ambulances do you think American would actually need to properly service that number of interfacility transports?
In order to achieve 90% on-time performance for all of those calls, you're looking at a minimum of 5 to 6 units, especially at peak time.
And how did you arrive at that number?
Just based on my experience doing the work out of that hospital. But AMR runs business around this area. We run what we call a UHU, a productivity measurement, and we usually run a 436, a 0.436, which is a metric that we look at frequently. And looking at that total volume that you want to do, running a standard UHU of a 436, even a 50, you're going to need more than 3 units to handle the shifts that you're going to put on for those unit hours that calculates to.
You had mentioned a UHU of 0.5. You said even at a 0.5. Why do you mention the 0.5?
Well, 0.5 is typically what's considered the industry standard for an EMS system to run at.
So if American actually needs 5 to 6 ambulances, at least during the peak hours, how many crew members do you think they would need for this branch?
So if you run 1 unit 24/7 for a week, you're going to need 8 full-time staff members for that truck. So even with the 3 full-time ambulances running at 24/7, you're going to need a minimum of 25 full-time employees for that. So if you need 6 full-time units to be running throughout the week, obviously you're going to need more than that 25, probably double that.
Of the 4 paramedics and the 13 EMTs that American had stated in its application, Do you know whether those are intended to cover absences of crew members? So if somebody calls out sick, are those covered by the same 4 paramedics and 13 EMTs?
It doesn't stipulate in the application. I'm assuming those are full-time. They don't mention, they do talk about 24/7 coverage. So I would take that as, those staff members are all full-time to cover 24/7 hours. It's not enough. You definitely need more staff to cover sick outs, injuries, uh, vacations, et cetera.
And back to the ambulances, the 3 ambulances that they're proposing. Do you know whether they have a plan? Can you tell from the application whether they have a plan for a situation where one of those trucks is out of commission, either a mechanical breakdown, a flat tire, or something else?
No, can't tell.
Does AMR have sufficient ambulances housed at the Bridgeport headquarters to cover when one of its trucks is down for either mechanical failure or something of the like?
Yes, we do.
And does AMR have at its Bridgeport location enough employees to cover the situation where somebody calls out sick last minute, for instance?
Yes, we do.
Are you aware that in the application, American also says that those 3 ambulances are going to be, on the one hand, dedicated to providing these 5,400 to 5,596 transports per year, and on the other hand, they'll also be available for mutual aid situations?
Yes, I'm aware of that. Yeah.
Okay. Of the 3 ambulances, do you know whether that allocation of 3 ambulances is also intended to cover these situations where where American is going to be engaged in mutual aid?
Repeat that question again.
Sure, it's a terrible question. Are you aware whether the 3 ambulances that are proposed for this location are intended to actually cover a mutual aid situation and the 5,400 to 5,596 trips that we're talking about?
Based on their application, they're available for mutual aid and for the inter-facility work.
And in your opinion, managing these types of operations, if one of the 3 ambulances is out on a mutual aid call, does that have an impact on the other 2 ambulances' abilities to service the volume that's predicted in this application?
Yes, if 1 or 2 or how many ever go out and handle a mutual aid call, that's not available for a period of time to do the volume, especially at peak time. If they're only talking about having those 3 ambulances available during peak time for the volume, and they start entertaining mutual aid, you're going to be late on those calls.
Did you hear the testimony on the first day of the hearing when the witnesses for American said that they're confident that they'll be able to hire enough personnel, at least the 17 by their estimation, to staff this location?
Yes.
Okay, and you told us earlier you're involved in staffing for AMR.
Yes, I
Um, in your capacity in dealing with staffing for AMR in this region, have you had difficulty finding paramedics and EMTs?
Yes, we have.
Do you know whether that difficulty is specific to AMR?
No, I don't believe it is.
And what makes you say that?
Conversations with other chiefs of service, conversations around the state with other chiefs of service that experience recruiting and retention, abilities to maintain EMT staffing and paramedic staffing.
I'd like to offer what was submitted yesterday as a rebuttal exhibit. This is the article from the American Journal of Emergency Medicine. I don't believe that there was an objection filed last night. At least I didn't see one. And I'd ask Hearing Officer Hensted to take administrative notice of the journal article.
Attorney Langer, any objection?
I'm not going to object to the agency taking administrative notice of
Okay,
this article.
thank you. Thank you. I will take administrative notice of the article.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Mr. Schieninger, are you familiar with this article from American Journal of Emergency Medicine?
Yes,
And this is the one titled "Factors Contributing to Paramedic Attrition in Connecticut: An Analysis of Workforce Stability."
yes.
Okay. In the very first sentence there, can you read that first sentence for us?
Sure. Emergency medical services, EMS, staffing shortages and turnover have gained national attention in recent years, 1 through 4.
And then if we go down to the second paragraph there, it talks about Connecticut specifically. What does it say about the paramedic shortages in the last 10 years?
In Connecticut, paramedic shortages recently reached a 10-year high, with agencies reporting less than 1/3 of desired staffing levels, leading to a creation of a statewide task force and new training programs to increase the number of paramedics in the state.
And does this article also address, well, withdrawn. Let me ask you this. This article also talks about the creation of a statewide task force to increase the number of paramedics in the state, or to address the issue of paramedics in the state. Are you familiar with that task force?
I believe I've heard of this.
And it also talks about how there's been new training programs to increase the number of paramedics in the state.
Yes.
Okay. And you heard the testimony during the last session when the witnesses were talking about courses currently being offered by Hartford Healthcare.
Yes.
And did you understand that to be one of their solutions to the staffing issues in the Bridgeport region?
Yes.
Does AMR have programs to increase the number of EMTs and paramedics in Connecticut as well?
Yes.
And what are those programs?
We've run, for EMT level, we've run what's called, we deem the title called Earn While You Learn, where what we've realized over time is people that get trained as EMTs outside of AMR or agencies, they might take a course with a hospital, a fire department, with a town, whatever it is. We find that the majority of those people becoming certified EMTs really don't go into the EMS workforce. They're becoming EMTs to become firefighters, law enforcement officers, nurses, PAs, physical therapists, whatever it is, other health sciences. That's what they're becoming EMTs for. So what we did is we created our own program, to Earn While You Learn, where we will put out a recruitment advertising to Earn While You Learn. We would interview people, bring them in, hire them at minimum wage, and then train them while we're paying them as an EMT. So put them through the EMT class. They do their education with us, they do their ride time, and then if they're successfully passing the state exam, become a state certified EMT, they then become a full-time EMT with us. Likewise, we've created programs for paramedics where we will pay for tuition for a paramedic program for one of our EMTs to go into a paramedic program. We've also created the same type of program, Earn While You Learn, for our paramedics in partnership with Yale, where they would continue to work as an EMT for us, and we would pay them while they're in class, taking the paramedic program and doing their clinical ride time. And in return, they would work for us full-time as a paramedic for 2 years.
So have these programs that AMR has developed to increase the training opportunities, have those solved the challenges that you yourself have experienced in hiring EMTs and paramedics to ride in the ambulances?
They haven't solved it. They're very expensive to run. They've cost AMR a lot of money. We do get, especially on the EMT side, we get a few EMTs out of that will actually stay with us. Paramedics come in. The problem on the paramedic side is the attrition rate with the paramedics is tremendous in the state. Paramedics are leaving the industry. They're going to work in hospitals and their transfer centers. They're sitting at a phone booking the transfers with the ambulance companies. They're being hired by fire departments who are running ALS, and they're just leaving the industry. So we've seen a little bit, but there's still a significant shortage.
So for the courses mentioned by American during the last session, Do you have any way of knowing how many people completing those courses actually go on to work as paramedics and EMTs in the state?
I don't.
Does AMR actively try to recruit licensed paramedics and EMTs?
We do.
And have you experienced any challenges in recruitment?
Yes.
What are some of those challenges that you've observed or experienced in the recruitment efforts?
I mean, the challenge is, you look at the state numbers showing the number of active personnel versus certified and licensed. There's less than half of those people that are actually working, and the state even admits that's probably an overstatement. So there's just a shortage of people out there that are licensed, certified to do the job. And then people that are newly certified, some of them don't want to come in and work in EMS. Again, like I said, they're doing it to gain their patient experience, their clinical time to go on and do other health science work. I have a every other week meeting with our recruitment team and with my local ops team to figure out how we can attract and retain EMTs and paramedics constantly. And I know other services are doing that. And really it becomes paramedics are jumping from service to service. Whoever's paying the most, whoever has the least call volume, whoever has what we deem a crock pot ambulance service, where their call volume is a quarter of what they would do at a commercial ambulance service. And they have a base where they can sleep, they have a kitchen, they have a TV, they can watch their favorite movies on a commercial service. That's not something that you can do. You're in an ambulance providing service out to the community.
So based on your experience in this area, will the courses that Hartford Healthcare is offering be a sufficient source of personnel needed to staff the ambulances that, even just the 3 ambulances that American is proposing in this application?
I don't think so.
Do you have any idea?
I'm sorry, I was going to object if if the witness isn't familiar with American Ambulance's courses and the details of it, how can the witness testify as to whether it's sufficient or not? It's speculation.
He's already testified about his experience with these exact same types of courses and the rate at which people go through the courses and then go elsewhere. I think it's a fair question for him to comment on Hartford Healthcare's proposal for creating these positions, or staffing these positions.
I'm going to sustain the objection. It does call for speculation.
Let's talk about the costs to the EMS system overall in Connecticut. We've been talking today about somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 transports that are subject to this application. Was there a time when AMR was handling the vast majority of the transports that are the subject of this application?
Yes.
And how many of these particular IFTs did AMR handle for St. Vincent's in 2024?
In 2024, probably less than the majority. I think the number I was looking at, total trips out of the hospital, I think a little over 3,800.
And what about in 2025?
2025, I think was just less than that.
Less than the 3,800?
Yeah.
Has that decrease in the number of transports that, or interfacility transports that AMR is providing to St. Vincent's impacted AMR's ability to operate in the region?
Yes.
How so?
Well, when volume decreases, we monitor our operation on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. We look at volume, and my job is to ensure we're running an efficient service. So there's a cost to readiness for an ambulance. So if there's an ambulance sitting idle, it's costing the organization money without any revenue coming in for that. So if we have idle ambulances, we remove those shifts from our schedule, so those units won't be available. So when volume decreases at a contract, I look for trends, usually a 4-week volume trend, if I start to see a significant decline in that volume, we'll start peeling off units because there's no work for those units to do.
If American's application is granted and it starts handling the 5,400 to 5,600 roughly IFTs that are at issue, would that further impact AMR's ability to operate in the region?
Yes, I mean, if they're handling the entire volume out of the hospital, the units that I have scheduled in my overall schedule to handle that volume would be removed from the schedule.
Does this application create a risk that AMR will stop providing any EMS services in the region?
Long term, I think so. I mean, I think having Hartford Healthcare down here, purported to take volume out of the hospital, ultimately, I think the risks for me are less resources on the road because of my volume's not there. And then also less staff because the staff have to come from somewhere. What ends up happening in a situation like this is people will be what we call poached from other services to staff those ambulances. And it becomes who's going to pay more, who's got better benefits, who's got better food at the hospital or whatever it is. It's gonna hurt AMR.
Based on your experience in the field and your involvement with the statewide EMS advisory board, do you believe that the granting of Americans' application poses a risk to the stability of the EMS system in Connecticut?
Yes, I believe it does.
How so?
We're going right back to, again, having a service going into an area where they don't have a base, taking volume away from those established providers, where those providers are having that volume subsidize the work that we're doing in these PSAPs that have very low payer mix, and we're writing off a lot of money. That subsidy is going to be taken away from us. And then at some point, we're going to not be able to do those areas where has low revenue.
Hearing Officer Hensed, I may not have any additional questions for Mr. Cheevinger, but may I have 5 minutes just to review my notes, make sure I didn't miss anything?
Absolutely. So let's go off the record for 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, we are back on the record. Any further questions, Council? You're muted.
Yeah, that's what we're just talking about. Yeah. Thank you. I don't have any additional questions for this witness. I do want to address, and we can do it now or we can do it after cross-examination. We had filed an objection to the late filing number one. I understand, hearing officer Hanstead, you're going to reserve your ruling on that to give yourself an opportunity to review the arguments there. If that document is going to be allowed in, we're reserving our right to recall a witness. I believe Attorney Langer had said that Mr. Turchak would be able to speak to that document. So we'd like to get a ruling on that and reserve our right to recall one of their witnesses to address that document if it's going to come in.
Okay, why don't we address that after Attorney Langer has his opportunity to cross-examine this witness.
Okay.
Attorney Langer?
Thank you, Hearing Officer Hanstead. Good morning, Mr. Schedinger. Mr. Schedinger, you've never worked in a hospital as hospital staff, correct?
No, I've not.
Okay. And you've never worked in a hospital focusing on the operational aspects of a hospital, correct?
Correct.
Okay, could you, you're not familiar with American Ambulance's corporate structure, correct?
Correct.
So you were not familiar with American Ambulance's corporate structure on May 29th when the pre-filed testimony was filed with the department, correct?
Correct.
And you're also not familiar with American Ambulance's operations and ambulance deployment strategies, correct?
Correct.
And you weren't familiar with American Ambulance's operations and ambulance deployment strategies on May 29th when the pre-filed testimony was submitted with the department, correct?
Correct.
So you don't have a basis to characterize this application as a reorganization of American Ambulance's operations then, correct?
Objection. I don't think that he ever did characterize it that way.
If we refer to the May 29th pre-filed testimony, actually, we should probably, I don't know if this has been, Hearing Officer Hanstead, if the pre-filed testimony for May 29th and June, was it June 17th were admitted as exhibits, but we won't object to their admission.
Well, I don't typically admit the pre-filed testimony as an exhibit. Typically,
Okay.
the witness adopts it
Well,
on the
that's
record,
right.
and
I
he
guess
has not done that today. So
Okay.
at this point, it's not even in the record. If he'd like to adopt it as his testimony, we can go back and take care of that.
We haven't asked him to do so. We're relying on the testimony that he provided today.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. So then the pre-file, all right, so then I will, I'll move on. American Ambulance isn't removing ambulance resources from any existing American Ambulance branch to the proposed Bridgeport location, correct?
I have no idea.
You're familiar with the calculus that the department uses for new ambulance applications, correct?
You broke up. I thought you said the calculus for applicate. What was the question? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
yes, the way that the department will calculate ambulances, like whether there's a need for an ambulance when there's a new ambulance application.
I'm going to object to that question as vague.
Okay. You're familiar with the department met calculus in that they'll take the number of requests that the applicant is proposing to cover and dividing it by the total number of ambulances, correct?
I've never seen that in writing. I can't say that I do.
So in the decisions that withdrawn, so in all of the applications that AMR has provided before the Office of Emergency Medical Services, it's your testimony that you've never seen a decision where OEMS has taken the number of requests for services and divided it by the number of ambulances and come up with a number of requests per ambulance per year?
No, I believe I've seen that done.
Okay. And so in this instance, using that approach for American Ambulance's additional branch location, we would divide the projected number of transfers, which in the application is 5,475, by I think you had estimated five ambulances, maybe six, but we'll go with five, and that equals approximately 1,095 trips per year per ambulance, right?
I don't have a calculator. I'll trust your math.
Okay. And so that's well below the average number of requests per ambulance annualized that the department has approved for new ambulance applications, correct?
I'm going to object to these questions. I don't think there's a foundation for any of this. The information hasn't been provided by this witness. I don't know what the source is of the information or the numbers that are being thrown out by counsel.
He testified. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I don't think it's a fair line of questioning to throw out numbers that haven't been discussed.
So I'm using the numbers from the application. Mr. Schieninger has testified that he has seen, the numbers of he's seen this calculus used in past applications, particularly for AMR applications, and I'm using the numbers from the application. So there's nothing that is new or not within the witness's understanding or knowledge.
Well, that's not what he testified to, though. He ultimately said, yes, I've seen that. I don't think he adopted that as something that AMR has done. I think he specifically said that's not the way that AMR has calculated the number of ambulances it needs for any
I'm not talking. Yeah, I'm not talking about AMR. I'm talking about what the agency's done, and he's testified that he's seen that done. And so I'm just using that calculus here.
Yeah, I'm going to overrule the objection. I know the witness did testify as to the volume an ambulance could accommodate, and he's familiar. He testified as well that he's familiar with other AMR applications. So I'll allow this line of questioning, but Attorney Langer, just be careful not to go too deeply into the numbers because we don't have those. And when I say that, I mean with respect to other decisions the department has issued, because we don't have those in the record.
Thank you, and I don't plan to. So
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay.
You're welcome.
So I'll ask the question again, just for clarity. And so using the department's past calculus for American Ambulances branch location here, we're dividing the projected number of transfers, which is 5,475, by your estimate. I'm using 5 instead of 6, but 5 ambulances equals approximately 1,095 trips per year per ambulance, right?
I still have to object. We're, if I'm understanding the question correctly, we're talking about a calculus, to use council's word, that has been done in other applications by an agency that this witness doesn't work for and instead that he's not familiar with. I just don't think it's a fair question to the witness, unless you're asking him to assume that this is what the department will do in every single case.
I think you've already ruled on the objection. It seems to be the same objection.
Yeah, I'm going to allow the question. The witness can answer to the extent he has the knowledge to answer.
So, I mean, just going off your math, I'm going to trust your math that dividing the number of requests or transports by the 5 comes out to, I think, would you say 1,095?
Yes. Okay, so that's well below to your knowledge, that's well below the average of number of requests per ambulance annualized that the department has approved for new ambulance applications, correct?
I'm gonna object again. We're talking about other applications and decisions by the agency or the department on other applications.
I'm saying to his knowledge.
Yeah, the witness can answer the question. It's to his knowledge. If he doesn't have the knowledge, then he shouldn't answer it.
So, I mean, the only thing I'll say is I've seen the calculation done in other hearings. I can't answer that. I know the department relies on that calculation to make a decision. I've never seen that. So I've seen the calculation done. I can't say that that's the ultimate deciding factor.
All right, and so using the department's calculus, but with American Ambulance's proposed 3 dedicated ambulances, that number comes to 1,825, right?
I'm sorry. I don't mean to continue interjecting, but I do have to object to the characterization of the question. Now the question presumes that the department has adopted this calculus.
Attorney Langer?
I'm just referring to the calculus that the witness has testified that he has seen in other, dockets or applications, and just applying that to the 3 ambulances instead of the 5 ambulances. That's the only difference.
So I object to the characterization of the question being that calling this the department's calculus. It's not.
Yeah. So I'll sustain that objection with respect to the department's calculation, but the witness can answer the question.
So just so I'm clear, can you repeat that? Because I think it's
Sure. All I did, yes, that's fair, Mr. Schieninger. I just took the 5,475 and divided it by 3 for the 3 dedicated ambulances. And so it comes to, if my math is correct, 1,825 per ambulance.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. American Ambulance isn't asking for new ambulances in this application, right?
I believe they were new ambulances purchased.
Okay, so in September 2025, American Ambulance downgraded St. Vincent's status for purposes of American AMR scheduling interfacility transfers initiated by St. Vincent's, correct?
You have to clarify who you're talking about. You said American Ambulance downgraded.
If I did, I'm sorry, AMR. I meant AMR. In September of 2025, did AMR downgraded St. Vincent's status for purposes of AMR scheduling interfacility transfers initiated by St. Vincent's, correct?
I'm going to object based on relevance.
It goes to this. This goes to the provision of interfacility transports provided by by AMR, and the level of service that's been provided and the throughput issues that Mr. Durchak had testified to. So this is directly relevant.
Okay, I'll allow the question.
And I'm sorry, just so I understand, can you repeat that question for me?
Happy to. In September 2025, AMR downgraded St. Vincent's status for purposes of AMR scheduling interfacility transports initiated by St. Vincent's.
I disagree with that.
Okay. Could you please turn to I submitted as a rebuttal exhibit an AMR memo from September 2025 that was submitted to council to the agency. Do you have that in front of you?
Working on it. Okay, I have it in front of me.
So this is a AMR document that says topic Bridgeport Hospital tiers, and it's dated September 25th, 2025, correct?
Yes,
And it says St. Vincent's Medical Center is now a tier 2 hospital, correct?
yes,
And prior to that, St. Vincent's was a tier 1 hospital, correct?
correct.
And so in this memo, effective immediately, it says AMR will no longer be taking transport requests from St. Vincent's Medical Center ED or any wheelchair requests from any part of the hospital, correct?
Correct.
And that AMR will be responsible for requests from their BHU to the Westport campus and stretcher requests with the exception of the 6th and 10th floors, correct?
Correct.
And those would belong to Nelson, correct?
Correct.
And that's Y-axis now?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And so it says effective immediately, the order in which the hospitals take precedence has changed and is listed below. And that transfers would be dispatched in accordance with this new tiering system, right?
Yes,
All right. And you have Bridgeport Hospital as a tier 1, Griffin Hospital as a tier 1 with St. Vincent's as a tier 2, correct?
correct.
Okay, so that means that being downgraded by AMR from a tier 1 to a tier 2 hospital meant that AMR was not going to prioritize interfacility transfers initiated by St. Vincent's, correct?
I, that's a communicate or dispatch system order. I'm not sure how they delineate between tier 1 and tier 2. But the communication here was based on communications that my transport coordinator heard in the case management office that we were going to be losing volume out of the ED. And when I had the conversation with St. B's, it was obviously, I was told a miscommunication or a misunderstanding. So we redacted this a week later.
But the reason for the downgrade was because, as you said, that some of the volume for the interfacility transports was going to be provided by Nelson, correct?
I don't know who it was going to be provided for. My transportation coordinator heard the case management director say that AMR was no longer going to be taking emergency department requests out of the hospital. And subsequently, she was moved out of that office.
Okay, so around this time, September of 2025, St. Vincent started using Y-Access for some of the interfacility transfers initiated by St. Vincent's because of delays associated with AMR providing their interfacility transfers, correct?
I was told that Nelson was brought in to help with on-time performance, correct?
And so AMR was unhappy with that, which was why this memo was generated to relegate St. Vincent's from a tier 1 to a tier 2, right?
AMR was unhappy. I don't think I've ever said that. I don't think we ever said that to anybody. I just told my communication center what was happening and that we were losing volume out of the ED. And the idea of moving them to a tier 2 was because that their volume was substantially less than the other 2 hospitals.
You're familiar with the hospital discharge challenges working group report dated March 16, 2026, correct?
Yes.
If I could ask you to please turn to page 6 of that report.
Counsel, we're trying to locate it for the witness.
Okay.
Can you just when or how it was submitted so that we can pull it up a little more quickly?
It was actually it was submitted as for administrative notice, and I believe it was done. I have to get the date for you, so just bear with me.
I found it, Jesse. Thank
You
you.
did? Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. So you see the first bullet point on page 6 stating expand capacity in known discharge bottleneck areas?
Yes.
This is one of the recommendations by the report to reduce delays and improve patient flow, correct?
Yes.
And so increasing the number of ambulances available to perform interfacility transfers initiated by St. Vincent's would be an expansion of capacity, correct?
I don't know. I couldn't say that. I don't know if the bottleneck is with the ambulance discharges or with wheelchair discharges, livery discharges, private vehicle discharges. I don't believe ambulance delays are causing the throughput issues at St. Vincent's.
Okay. I, after I think when I ask a question, obviously you can respond to it, but I don't think you need to go beyond, what is asked. So thank you. Could you please turn to page 9 of the report?
Okay.
All right. And do you see the first sentence in the third paragraph that reads ED boarding in Connecticut as well as across the country is substantial and represents a distinct public health issue?
Yes.
And do you agree with that?
I can't tell you about the country, but in Connecticut, I believe some of ED boarding throughout the state. Yes.
And the second sentence reads, while hospital discharge challenges contribute to this problem, they also have distinct operational, patient care, and financial implications. Do you see that?
Yes.
You agree that delayed hospital discharges contribute to ED boarding, correct?
Yes.
Could you please turn to page 16 of the report?
Okay, I'm there.
Thank you. Do you see the last bullet point under common causes of avoidable discharge delays, where it says transportation or logistical barriers, delays in arranging medical transport or durable medical equipment?
Yes, at the bottom, yes.
Yes, thank you. Having an additional branch in Bridgeport with 3 ambulances dedicated to interfacility transports would be responsive to that last bullet point on page 16 regarding transportation barriers, correct?
I disagree with that.
Having an additional branch in Bridgeport with 3 ambulances dedicated to interfacility transports would help alleviate delays in hospital discharges, correct?
Disagree with that.
Bear with me, please. You testified. You testified about the on-time performance summary reports in attachment 3 and 3A or 3A of the application, correct?
Yes.
And you testified as to not knowing, well, withdrawn. You testified that the summary reports don't provide all of the reasons or information regarding why there might be discharge delays, correct?
Correct.
Right. So there have been times where representatives of St. Vincent's have reached out to representatives of AMR to discuss on-time performance concerns or issues, correct?
Correct.
And during those occasions, AMR's response for the on-time performance, the actual on-time performance is the 911 volume, correct?
Not for the entire on-time performance issue.
But that was one of the main reasons for the on-time performance issues, correct?
For specific calls that they were calling us on.
You also testified that AMR provided St. Vincent's with these on-time performance or OTP reports consistently, correct?
Yes.
But AMR only started providing the reports after St. Vincent's had asked for this data, correct?
Which data are you talking about?
The summary reports in 3A, attachment 3A.
Well, they asked for the volume numbers, and it was agreed upon that we would provide the on-time performance reports because they had the volume numbers in it.
And let me ask you a different way. Prior to 2024, AMR did not consistently provide OTP reports to St. Vincent's, correct?
Prior to 24, I don't recall.
You testified, I believe you said that the individuals who go to or use the courses at the hospitals tend to go into other practices, whether it's physical therapy or otherwise, correct?
Correct.
But AMR uses the St. Vincent's medic classes, correct?
Same, AMR doesn't.
But AMR is hiring from candidates from the St. Vincent's medic classes, correct?
I don't have any specific data saying that we're hiring directly from that class. We may have EMTs that we help fund their tuition of that class with an agreement with the employee that they would work for AMR. But I have no specific data that I can look at right now that says we've hired X amount from that class.
So you've paid for at least 5 candidates from this year, correct?
I don't know the specific number.
And also 3 EMTs of AMR were also enrolled in the St. Vincent's classes, correct?
I don't know offhand. Are you saying they're currently in the program or past the program, failed the program?
No, I've asked my question. Thank you. Do you know how much AMR has billed St. Vincent's for interfacility transfers this year, for this fiscal year?
Not offhand, I do not.
It's approximately $800,000 for interfacility transfers initiated by St. Vincent's for this fiscal year, correct?
I mean,
As
I'm gonna object. He already said he doesn't know, so now council's
Yeah,
testifying.
Sustained.
Now, you've testified that that American Ambulance is looking to take over the bulk of the projected interfacility transfers from St. Vincent's, correct?
Based on their application, yes.
In February of 2026, you met with William Jennings and Mr. Durchak to discuss AMR's continued role and involvement in providing interfacility transfers, correct?
Yes, I remember meeting, yes.
Okay. And as testified by Mr. Durchak on the first hearing date, St. Vincent's intends to continue to partner with AMR moving forward, correct?
Yes,
Yeah, you had testified as to the approximate volume of interfacility transfers that AMR is providing for St. Vincent's in 2024 and 2025 on direct examination. Do you recall that?
yes,
I think you said maybe 3,800 for 2024 and 3,500 or so for 2025.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. You know, that's approximately 2/3 of the total volume of interfacility transfers, correct?
Yes,
You recall providing some testimony regarding the article that regarding paramedic and EMT staffing in Connecticut.
yes,
That article is a retrospective account of staffing issues, correct? Let me ask it a different way. I can ask it a different way. Withdraw. That article focuses on the time period of 2020 to 2023, correct?
yes,
And that was that time period involved the COVID-19 pandemic, correct?
yes,
And that was one of the most, if not the most, operationally disruptive time periods for EMS in known history, correct?
correct.
That article also talked about how urban centers are faring better with maintaining and adding EMS personnel, correct?
That I don't know. Where do you see that?
And that it's the rural areas that are the ones that are having the most trouble with staffing issues, correct?
I just want to make sure council heard the response. He didn't say yes to your prior answer. He asked where.
Yeah, Yeah, it's in the article. I'm not, it's your, the document that you asked to have administratively noticed. I'm not gonna, bring them through, the article. But if you don't know, that's okay. If your answer is I don't know, then that's fine.
He said he didn't see where you were looking. Not that he doesn't know the information.
So then do you know whether the article focuses on rural communities having more difficulties with EMS staffing?
Yes, yeah, I see where it says rural areas were more impacted.
And Bridgeport is designated as an urban community for purposes of EMS, correct?
Correct.
To that end, I would ask you to please refer to attachment 3 of American Ambulance's supplemental submission, which was dated June 26th. It's the rebuttal exhibits.
Three, you said attachment 3?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you. And so what you're looking at is an Advantage CT municipal profile. Do you see that?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Bridgeport, Connecticut one right now, I guess.
And if you look at the land area, it says 16 square miles. Do you see that?
Yes.
And AMR is the PSAR for Bridgeport, correct?
Correct.
Now, if you'll turn past the Bridgeport profile, you'll see the Griswold town profile. Do you see that?
Hang on 1 second. Yes, I see Griswold.
Okay. And the land area for Griswold is 35 square miles, correct?
Yes.
And then if you turn to the next one, which is Ledyard, you'll see that the land area for Ledyard is 38 square miles, right? It's in the top, I'm sorry, it's at the top of in the top left-hand corner under general.
Yes, I see it there.
All right, thank you, thank you. All right, so Griswold and Ledyard are approximately twice the size square mileage for Bridgeport, correct?
Correct.
Recall the cross-examination by Attorney Kurz of Mr. Bullier from the first hearing date?
Not in its entirety.
But you were present during that period, during the hearing. I think your attorney had, yes, okay.
Yes.
Okay, and Attorney Kurz had asked some questions regarding, average or mean response times, correct?
I specifically don't recall. I don't have anything in front of me showing me that either.
you had testified during direct examination that there are reasons for discharge delays from a hospital other than transportation related, correct?
Correct.
And you went through some of the issues that you say AMR personnel experienced at St. Vincent's regarding getting the patient into the truck, correct?
Well, either the crew getting up to the floor or getting the patient down off the floor, correct?
Okay. And AMR has or had, well, when you were on contract, you had during the 2019 and 2021 contracts, AMR had a transportation coordinator stationed at St. Vincent's, correct?
Correct.
And the transportation coordinator is supposed to help with patient prep and handling paperwork, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I would ask that you refer to your counsel had taken you through attachment 3A of the American Ambulance's application. Do you recall going through attachment 3A, which is the OTP reports?
Yes.
Monthly reports, yes, okay. And he asked you some questions about some of the nature of the transfers and that sort of thing on, for example, for July 2024, correct?
Correct.
I'm sorry, not July 2024, it was January. Yeah, thank you, I'm sorry, January 2024, yes. And I see that in January of 2024, for a total, and just so I understand, and I don't know, I don't think council asked this question, but the total, just looking at, actually, yeah, we can look at January 2024. Looking at the total late, that means that that column is referring to interfacility transfers that do not meet the contract metric, correct?
Not for that month, because we didn't have metrics in the contract.
So I'm looking at a report that says total late, 109. Is that what it says?
Yes.
And then I'm looking at total OTP. OTP means on-time performance, right?
Yes.
And there are a bunch of varying percentages here, right?
Correct.
And at the bottom, it says for January 2024, 69.89%, right?
Correct.
And then next to the column to the right, it says contract metric, right?
Correct.
And then it says 90% down the line all the way to the bottom, correct, of that particular summary.
Yes.
So according to what's here in Exhibit 3A, AMR was on time, according to the contract metric, 69.89% of the time, right? That's what this table says.
According to the column labeled contract metric, yes.
Okay. And so if you were to turn to the last page of that attachment, you'll see October 2025, November 2025, and December 2025, right?
Yes.
And so with that same explanation, for October 2025, AMR was on time 55.34%, correct?
Which one are you looking at? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, October 2025, it's the summary table at the top of the page.
Oh, this is 2024.
No, yeah, 2025, I'm sorry, the last page.
So October, 55.34%.
Okay. And then for November 2025, it's 53.54%, correct?
Yes.
And then for December 2025, it's 58.21%, correct?
Yes.
Now, if you go back to attachment 3, the second page, just give you a moment to go there.
Okay, with it.
Okay. And you'll see table 1 and table 2. Do you see that?
Yes.
And so this is a summary of the monthly, so the table 1 is a summary of the monthly OTP reports for calendar year 2024, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you have the contract metric of 90% in gray going across the chart there. Do you see that?
I see target going across, yes.
Yeah, yes. And then you have, you had discussed during direct examination, various types of interfacility transfers that AMR performed for St. Vincent's in 2024, correct? During direct examination.
I'm not sure what you're asking. Can
Okay.
you repeat that again?
So, yeah, I'm sorry, poorly worded question. When your counsel took you through the January 2024 table summary OTP report, and you went through the different types of transfers, you know, BHU, ED, non-ED, and so on, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so going back to table 1, you have there's a light blue for BHU, red is for the floor, right? And then ED is sort of the light olive green or whatever color you want to ascribe to it at the bottom there. Do you see that?
Yes.
And most of those fluctuate below the 90% contract metric, correct?
Below the target, yes.
Below the target, correct. And then for table 2, it's the same graph, but for calendar year 2025, correct?
Correct.
And you can see that all of the types of transfers charted here are below the metric of 90%. Do you see that?
Yes.
Now, you had testified to, again, a number of reasons for, AMR personnel being unable to get the patient, whether it's from the elevator or for the paperwork, right?
Correct.
The OTP reports pertain to when the ambulance arrives at the at St. Vincent's, correct?
Correct.
And so you would agree that being on time only half of the time will cause delays in getting patients to their next destination in care, right?
Can you repeat that question for me?
Sure. being on time for only approximately half of the scheduled interfacility transfers, as say reflected in October, November, and December of 2025, will cause delays in moving patients to their next destination in care, correct?
I'm going to object. It calls for speculation based on the testimony earlier that there's no information connecting the interfacility transfers or the, on-time performance to any particular patient movement.
I think if he can answer the question based on, his well, let me back up. We talked about how transportation delays contributes to discharge delays for hospitals. And the witness answered in the affirmative to that. And we just went through all of the on-time performance reports, and now I'm asking him a question about, the percentage of time that they're on time.
I'll allow the question.
I wouldn't agree with you.
Being on time for only, half of the scheduled interfacility transfers, as reflected, for example, in the October, November, and December 2025 summary reports, causes throughput issues for St. Vincent's, correct?
I disagree.
Representatives of St. Vincent's has shared their concerns with you and representatives of AMR regarding the delayed interfacility transfers, correct?
Yes.
And so, so you had testified that one of the concerns that you have regarding American Ambulance's application is that you'll have ambulances sitting idle, correct?
Correct.
But if you have ambulance, and you testified earlier that that St. Vincent started using Y-axis or Nelson for some of the interfacility transfers, correct?
Correct.
And so having, although you did rectify the memo, you went from a tier 1 to a tier 2, and then you shortly thereafter rectified the situation, correct, and made them a tier 1 again, right?
Redacted the policy, yes.
Yes, okay. So it doesn't seem to connect that you would have ambulances sitting idle yet only be on time or meeting the metric 50% of the time for these interfacility transfers, right?
Well, I never said I had ambulances sitting idle.
You testified that you would have ambulances sitting idle if you're not doing all of the, covering all of the interfacility transfer volumes, right?
I said I would have, yes.
So in instances where you're not covering all of, well, going back to September of 2025, when Y-Access started to provide some, or to cover some of the interfacility transfers, you didn't have any ambulances that were sitting idle, correct?
Well, the way I run my operation is if I have units available, they handle other work. If there's no work to be done, I remove those shifts.
Okay, so they were redeployed, correct?
So either redeployed or removed from the schedule to maintain operational efficiency.
So just so I understand, when you say removed from the schedule, does that mean they're sitting idle or redeployed?
Well, removed from the schedule removes the shift. So if it's an 8 to 4 shift that I would normally have on to handle St. B's, there's no other work for them to do and they don't have the volume, I remove that shift from the schedule. So those crews don't come in and report to work.
Okay, so then you wouldn't have any ambulances sitting idle if another provider such as American Ambulance started providing services there. You would remove them from the shift and redeploy them somewhere else, correct?
Well, they're removed from the shift, they're not working. I lose that unit. So I don't have as many resources on because there's no work for them to do.
Okay. These monthly reports in attachment 3A demonstrate a need for the additional branch, correct?
I totally disagree.
St. Vincent's is taking reasonable steps by asking American Ambulance to perform some of the interfacility transfers because Y-Access is non-committal about covering or performing interfacility transfers and because of the on-time performance issues related to AMR, right?
I can't speak to what another organization is doing.
You would agree that St. Vincent's is obligated to find solutions to any ongoing throughput issues it's experiencing, correct?
Absolutely.
American Ambulance has proposed a branch 2 miles from St. Vincent's Bridgeport campus with 3 dedicated ambulances to interfacilities. And that would help alleviate some of St. Vincent's throughput issues, correct?
No, I disagree.
You were, you'd already testified that you were present. You were present when Dr. Jandro testified, correct?
Yes.
You agree that reducing delays for interfacility transfers would improve patient health outcomes, correct?
Reducing delays did you ask that again?
Yes. You agree with him that reducing delays in transportation and providing interfacility transfers generally improves patient health outcomes, correct?
Objection, calls for speculation.
To your knowledge, I'll ask it again, to your knowledge, and you testified that you're involved with, advisory, what's the advisory board that you're associated with? The Connecticut EMS Advisory Board,
Yes.
right? Okay,
Yes.
and you testified that you've been involved in EMS for many years, for decades, correct?
Yes.
And were you an EMT or a paramedic at one point?
Yes. Both.
Okay, so based on your experience there and including with your role now, you agree that reducing delays in providing interfacility transports improves patient health outcomes, correct?
All causes of delays, yes.
I'm saying specific to interfacility transports.
All causes of those delays, yes.
Hearing Officer Hanstead, could I have 5 minutes just to make sure I don't have any other questions?
Certainly, we are off the record for 5 minutes.